Okay, let's get right into it. Ever feel like managing who can access what in your organization has become this, well, incredibly complex puzzle?
It definitely can.
It's got people using all sorts of devices, cloud applications everywhere, and, the constant worry of security threats.
It really can feel like a never-ending balancing act.
Exactly. And that's sort of where Microsoft Entra ID steps in. It's designed to be that central nervous system, if you like, for your identity and access management.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is that while Entra ID offers just a huge array of features, understanding its core principles often clicks, well, when you see them applied in real-world scenarios.
Right.
And that's the approach we're taking today.
Yeah, exactly. Forget slogging through endless documentation for now. We're going to dissect some practical situations you might actually encounter.
Okay.
Specifically through the lens of practice questions for the Microsoft SE300 certification. That's the exam for Microsoft Identity and Access Administrator.
Right, the SE300.
Now, even if you have absolutely no plans to sit for that exam, you should stick with us. Understanding these scenarios is like getting a cheat sheet for crucial aspects of identity and access management.
Yeah, definitely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, grasping these fundamentals is incredibly valuable, really for anyone working in IT or security. It's about building that solid base for managing access, both effectively and securely.
Think of this as your express route, maybe, to understanding some really essential Entra ID capabilities. Our source material today is a curated set of these practice questions, each paired with a clear explanation.
Okay.
It's a super efficient way, I think, to explore key functionalities without getting lost in, well, a maze of menus and settings.
And it raises a really important point. What exactly are we aiming to achieve today? What's the mission?
Right. So our goal, which you're already participating in just by listening, is to pull out actionable insights and a robust understanding of Microsoft Entra ID's potential. And we're doing that by carefully examining these practice scenarios. We're not just trying to memorize answers. We want to understand why those answers are correct.
The thinking behind it.
Exactly.
Right.
And what that reveals about the system's inner workings. Ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's kick off with device management. Sounds like a good place to start.
All right, so our first question throws us straight into the complexities of managing devices. The scenario is this. You need to prevent users from joining their personal devices to Microsoft Entra ID.
Okay, common one. BYOD control.
Right. The question asks where you should configure this setting. Your options are A, device settings in Microsoft Entra ID, B, conditional access policies, C, Intune device compliance policy, and D, Microsoft Entra Connect. What's the key here?
Well, the correct answer, as our source material highlights, is A, device settings in Microsoft Entra ID.
Okay.
The primary reason is actually quite straightforward. This is the central configuration point within Entra ID for controlling device join capabilities.
Right.
And that directly includes managing bring your own device, or BYOD, scenarios.
Okay, let's dig a little deeper into this device settings area then. So why is this the specific place? I mean, it feels like some of those other options like conditional access or Intune might also play a role in how devices are managed.
That's a very insightful point, actually. And yes, while conditional access and Intune policies definitely interact with devices, and they can enforce rules based on device state, the fundamental decision of whether or not to permit devices to join Entra ID in the first place.
Wow, the initial permission.
Exactly. That's made within the device settings. Think of it as setting the foundational policy for joins.
Okay.
You have different levels of control here. You can completely block all device joins, or maybe allow only specific users or groups to join their devices,
Right.
or even mandate multi-factor authentication as a requirement just for a device to be joined.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. So if you're listening and you've got concerns about personal devices accessing company resources, this device settings area in Entra ID is really the first place you'd want to look.
Yeah, investigate and configure.
It's about establishing that initial perimeter for device registration.
Precisely. It's about laying down the groundwork, for how devices are allowed to interact with your Entra ID tenant.
Okay. Moving on to our second scenario, this one is all about moving beyond the traditional password.
Passwordless. Always a hot topic.
Definitely. The question asks which authentication method enables users to sign in using a QR code instead of typing a password. The choices are A, Windows N, Hello for Business, B, Microsoft Authenticator passwordless sign-in, C, smart card authentication, and D, federation with ADFS, which method involves scanning.
The correct answer here is B, Microsoft Authenticator passwordless sign-in.
Okay.
And the process works exactly as described. After a user enters their username, a QR code pops up on the screen, which they then scan using the Microsoft Authenticator app on their phone to complete the sign-in. No password entry needed at all.
Wow, that sounds incredibly convenient. But what are the major benefits? Is it just convenience, or is there more to it?
Oh, there are significant advantages beyond just convenience. From a security standpoint, it drastically reduces the risks associated with weak, reused, or, phished passwords. It leverages stronger authentication factors that are inherently tied to the user's physical device. And yeah, from the user's perspective, it can be a much smoother and faster sign-in experience compared to typing in often complex passwords.
So for those of you listening and thinking about strengthening your security without maybe making things more cumbersome for your users.
Yeah, that's the key balance.
Exploring passwordless options like Microsoft Authenticator sounds like a very promising direction.
Absolutely. It reflects a broader shift towards more modern and, inherently more secure authentication methods.
All right, let's shift our focus now to applications specifically, containerized applications. Maybe running within Kubernetes that needs secure access to sensitive information stored in Azure Key Vault.
Okay, yeah. Securing app access to secrets. Critical.
So the question is, what's the recommended approach for granting that access? The options are A, Azure App Configuration, B, Auth 2.0 Client Secret, C, Workload Identity Federation, and D, Legacy Service Principal. Which method provides the most secure key? And maybe just for listeners who might not be super familiar, Azure Key Vault is that service for securely storing secrets like API keys, passwords, certs.
Right. And why is accessing it securely so important for applications? Well, securely accessing Key Vault is paramount because it contains those sensitive credentials and configuration data that applications rely on.
Okay.
If this access is compromised, the application and potentially the entire environment could be at risk. So the correct answer here is C, Workload Identity Federation.
Workload Identity Federation. Okay.
And the key benefit of this approach is that it allows your Kubernetes-based workloads to securely access Azure resources like Key Vault.
Right.
Without you needing to manage long-lived secrets or credentials directly within your Kubernetes environment. That's the big win.
Okay, Workload Identity Federation sounds quite technical. Can you maybe break down why this is a better solution than, say, using an Auth 2.0 client secret or maybe a traditional service principal?
Sure. What's really fascinating here is the, elegance and security of Workload Identity Federation. Historically, you might grant application access using service principals paired with client secrets.
Right, the old way.
The old way.
Yeah.
But the challenge always lies in securely managing these secrets, rotating them, storing them safely within Kubernetes, which just introduces operational complexity and, frankly, potential security vulnerabilities. Workload Identity Federation takes a different approach. Think of it this way. Instead of giving your Kubernetes pods a sort of username and password for Azure, we're allowing Azure AD to recognize and trust the pod's inherent identity within the Kubernetes cluster. It's kind of similar to how you trust your own logged-in session.
Ah, okay. It trusts the pod itself.
Exactly. It leverages the existing identity of the Kubernetes service account, federating it with Azure Active Directory. The application running in Kubernetes can then prove its identity to Azure AD without needing any explicitly managed credentials.
Wow.
This significantly reduces that credential management burden and improves security by eliminating the risk of those passwords, the client secrets being exposed, or needing rotation within Kubernetes.
So for any of you out there working with cloud-native applications, microservices, this sounds like a much cleaner, more modern, and ultimately safer way to handle access to sensitive resources in Azure. Less secret management is definitely a win in my book.
Indeed. It's really about adopting cloud-native security best practices that minimize the attack surface.
Now let's pivot slightly to managing who holds the really powerful keys to your digital kingdom, those privileged administrative roles.
Yes, the admins.
The question asks, which feature is specifically designed for managing and reviewing assignments to these high-privilege roles over time? Options are A, Conditional Access, B, Lifecycle Workflows, C, Privileged Identity Management, PIM, and D, Identity Protection. Who's keeping an eye on the admins?
The correct answer is C, Privileged Identity Management, or PIM.
PIM, okay.
As the explanation in our source material emphasizes, PIME with an Entra ID is specifically built to allow you to manage, monitor, and conduct regular reviews of these high-privilege role assignments.
Right.
This includes crucial capabilities like providing just-in-time access, enabling access reviews, and establishing approval workflows for role activations.
Just-in-time access, that sounds like a really smart approach. Can you elaborate a bit on how that actually enhances security?
Absolutely. Just-in-time, or JIT, access operates on the principle of least privilege.
Okay.
It ensures that users only gain elevated privileges precisely when they need to perform a specific administrative task, and crucially, only for a limited duration.
Right, not just always on.
Exactly. Instead of having a highly powerful role assigned to them permanently, they have to explicitly request activation for a defined period. This drastically reduces the potential attack surface because those powerful admin accounts aren't constantly active and available to be compromised.
Makes sense.
And PM also incorporates the ability to conduct regular access reviews, which are essential for verifying that individuals still require and should possess those privileged roles over time, ensuring ongoing accountability.
That makes perfect sense from both a security and a compliance perspective. It's all about adhering to that principle of least privilege and maintaining continuous oversight of those with elevated permissions. If you're not currently using PM to manage your administrative accounts, it definitely sounds like something you should be exploring.
Without a doubt, it's really a fundamental pillar of a strong identity and access management framework.
Okay, moving on. Let's focus on ensuring that only healthy and secure devices are allowed to access our valuable Microsoft 365 application.
Device compliance for app access. Got it.
The question is, what combination of features should you configure to enforce this requirement? The choices are A, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, B, Intune compliance policies with conditional access, C, device writeback, and D, security defaults. What's the winning combination here? And maybe for a little more context, security defaults are kind of Microsoft's baseline settings.
Right, the starting point. The correct answer here is B, Intune compliance policies with conditional access.
Okay, those two together.
Yes, it's a powerful and integrated approach. Intune compliance policies are where you define the specific health and security standards that a device must meet, things like requiring device encryption or having a minimum OS version, that sort of thing.
Okay, the rules.
Exactly. Then conditional access policies act as the enforcement mechanism. They evaluate whether a device attempting to access Microsoft 365 apps actually meets the compliance policies defined back in Intune. If a device isn't compliant, conditional access can block or limit its access.
So Intune is setting the health and security rules for the devices.
Yep.
And conditional access is acting like the security checkpoint, verifying compliance before granting access. Is that a fair analogy?
That's an excellent analogy. Intune establishes the standards for device health, and conditional access acts as the gatekeeper, ensuring only devices meeting those standards are allowed access.
Got it.
And while something like Microsoft Defender for Endpoint plays a crucial role in detecting threats and providing info that can inform compliance,
Right.
it doesn't directly enforce access control in this specific scenario. Device writeback is more about synchronizing device info and security defaults, while good lack that granular control for specific compliance policy enforcement for app access.
This really underscores the importance of a layered security strategy, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not just about one tool or setting, it's how different services work together that creates a robust defense.
Exactly.
So if you're managing access across a diverse range of devices, understanding this integration between Intune and conditional access is absolutely critical.
Precisely. It enables a highly granular and automated way to ensure that only trusted and healthy devices can access sensitive organizational data.
Okay, our next scenario focuses on streamlining the experience for new users joining the organization, making things smoother.
The onboarding process.
Yeah. The question asks what you should implement to automate user onboarding processes based on their department and role. The options? A, access packages, B, group-based licensing, C, lifecycle workflows, and D, app proxy. What helps automate the welcome wagon for new hires?
The correct answer here is C, lifecycle workflows.
Lifecycle workflows, okay.
This feature, which is part of Microsoft EntraID Governance, is specifically designed to automate a range of tasks throughout a user's entire lifecycle within the organization.
The whole journey.
The whole journey, exactly. Starting with onboarding, extending all the way through offboarding, you can configure workflows that are triggered based on user attributes like their department or assigned role. These workflows can then automatically assign users to relevant groups, grant them access to necessary applications, and handle a variety of other onboarding tasks.
Wow, automation like that sounds like a massive time saver for IT. So instead of manually adding, say, a new marketing team member to numerous distribution lists, security groups, applications,
Right, all that manual clicking.
lifecycle workflows can handle all of that automatically just based on their designated department.
Exactly. This not only frees up a significant amount of time for IT administrators, but also ensures consistency in the onboarding process
Good point.
and significantly reduces the risk of manual errors. Plus, lifecycle workflows also extends to the offboarding process, automatically revoking access, handling other tasks when a user leaves, ensuring a smooth and secure transition out.
This sounds like a real game changer, honestly, in terms of efficiency and security. For any of our listeners currently grappling with manual and, frankly, time-consuming onboarding and offboarding procedures,
Which is many organizations.
yeah, lifecycle workflows could be a very valuable solution to investigate.
It's a prime example of how identity governance features can significantly improve IT operational efficiency and reduce that administrative overhead.
Now, let's talk about applications needing to communicate with each other securely, but without any direct human interaction involved.
Okay, app-to-app or service-to-service authentication.
Exactly. The question is, what is the appropriate method to authenticate an application to Microsoft Graph without requiring a user to be present? Options. A. OAuth 2.0 authorization code grant. B. Federated identity with social login. C. Client credentials grant with app registration. And D. User-assigned managed identity. How do applications authenticate when no one's looking?
The correct answer is C, client credential grant with app registration.
Okay.
This specific OAuth 2.0 flow is designed precisely for server-to-server applications or daemon services
Right.
that need to authenticate and access resources like Microsoft Graph in a non-interactive way, so without a user being logged in. The process starts with registering the application within EntraID.
Giving it an identity.
Giving it its own identity, exactly. Then, the application is granted specific API permissions that define what it's authorized to do.
So it's essentially like giving the application its own dedicated identity and a specific set of permissions within EntraID, almost like a user, but for an app.
Precisely. That's a good way to think about it. The application then uses its own unique credentials, its client ID, and a client secret, which of course needs to be managed very carefully.
Secret management again.
Indeed. It uses those to request and obtain an access token directly from Azure AD. This access token then allows the application to make calls to the Microsoft Graph API and access the resources it has been explicitly authorized to use.
Got it. And the other options?
Well, options A and B, the authorization code grant and federated identity with social login, both fundamentally involve user interaction and consent.
Right. A person needs to be there.
Exactly. Option D, user-assigned managed identities, allows an Azure resource to authenticate without embedded credentials, which is great. But the client credentials grant is the standard OAuth 2.0 flow, specifically designed for this scenario of a registered application authenticating directly.
This is really important information, I think, for developers and anyone responsible for managing application integrations. Understanding the client credentials grant is fundamental for building secure and automated workflows between applications.
It's absolutely a cornerstone concept in application authentication within the Microsoft Cloud ecosystem.
Our next question dives into the world of guest users and collaboration.
BDB collaboration.
Yeah. The scenario is, when someone from another organization's Microsoft Entra ID signs in to collaborate as a guest in your tenant, what specific type of object is automatically created in your Entra ID? Options are A, external user, B, user principal, C, service principal, and D, security principal. What do we call these digital collaborators from outside?
The correct answer is A, external user.
External user. Okay.
When a user from a different Entra ID tenant successfully authenticates as a guest within your organization using Azure AD's business-to-business or B2B collaboration features,
Right.
Microsoft Entra ID automatically provisions an external user object within your directory. This external user object essentially represents the B2B guest account.
So external user is the specific terminology for these guest accounts in our Entra ID. What's the importance of having these as distinct object types? Why not just call them users?
Well, having distinct external user objects allows you to manage these guest users separately and specifically from your internal employee accounts.
Ah, okay. Control.
Exactly. You can assign them tailored permissions, manage their access to specific resources within your tenant, and even control their lifecycle as guests. Maybe they only need access for project duration. This segregation is crucial for maintaining secure and effective collaboration with external partners while retaining control over your internal environment. A user principal is more of a general attribute. A service principal is for apps.
We just talked about that.
Right. And a security principal is a broader term encompassing users, groups, service principals. So external user is the specific one for B2B guests.
So, for organizations that frequently collaborate with external entities, having a clear understanding of how these guest user objects are created and managed is obviously essential for maintaining both security and operational efficiency.
Absolutely. It forms the bedrock of secure and well-governed B2B collaboration within EntraID.
Now, let's turn our attention to monitoring the security of our user sign-in processes, keeping tabs on things.
Monitoring and reporting. Crucial.
The question asks which specific tool or report you should utilize to track the security of your user sign-in attempts, and also to gain insights into your overall multi-factor authentication (MFA) adoption rate. Options: A. EntraID audit logs, B. Conditional Access insights, C. Sign-in logs, and D. Authentication methods activity report. Where do we find the security stats for authentication?
The correct answer here is D. Authentication methods activity report.
Okay, Authentication methods activity report.
Yeah. And while the other options provide valuable information, audit logs track admin actions, Conditional Access insights look at policy impact, sign-in logs give details on every sign-in.
Right, they all sound useful.
They are useful, but the Authentication Methods Activity Report is specifically designed to provide you with focused visibility into how your users are authenticating.
The how.
Exactly.
Mm.
This includes crucial data on their MFA registration status and their usage of different authentication methods like passwordless or SMS or app notification. It gives you a clear picture of the overall adoption of secure sign-in practices across your organization.
So this report is the primary place to go if you need to know things like, what percentage of your users have actually registered for and are using MFA.
Exactly. It provides key metrics on the registration and successful usage of various authentication methods. It allows you to effectively assess and continuously improve your organization's authentication security posture.
Mm-hmm.
You can identify users who haven't yet registered for MFA, track success and failure rates of different methods, and just gain a comprehensive overview of your authentication landscape.
This sounds incredibly valuable for anyone who's actively working to improve their organization's security by, say, rolling out MFA or other stronger authentication methods. This report gives you the data you need to see if your efforts are actually making a difference.
It's absolutely essential for monitoring the effectiveness and adoption of your authentication security strategies. Can't improve what you don't measure.
Very true. Okay, our final practice question deals with implementing controlled access to specific applications, but access that requires approvals.
Adding that governance layer.
Exactly. The scenario is a team lead needs to review and approve all access requests to a particular financial application. Very sensitive, presumably. Which access control model should you implement to achieve this? Options: A. Role-based access control. B. Access packages with approval workflows. C. Just-in-time role activation. And D. Static group membership. Who gets the final say on who accesses the financial app?
The correct answer is B. Access packages with approval workflows.
Access packages.
Access packages, which are a key feature within Microsoft Entra ID Governance, allow you to bundle together all the necessary resources a user might need access to.
Like a bundled deal.
Kinda, yeah. It could include specific applications, group memberships, maybe even SharePoint sites. Crucially, access packages allow you to define who is authorized to request access to these bundled resources.
Okay.
And importantly in this scenario, to configure approval workflows that must be completed before access is actually granted.
The approval step.
Precisely. This enables you to implement role-based access control, but with an added layer of governance through these built-in approval processes. In this case, ensuring that the team lead reviews and approves each request for access to that sensitive financial application.
So access packages provide that additional level of control by mandating that someone, like the team lead here, has to explicitly approve the access request before it's granted. It's not automatic based on role alone.
Precisely. While role-based access control, RBAC, defines permissions based on assigned roles, access packages introduce that request and approval workflow on top.
Got it.
Just-in-time role activation, PIM, is specifically for managing privileged admin roles, not typically general application access. And static group membership is just assigning users to groups directly no formal request or approval mechanism.
Right.
So access packages are ideally suited for scenarios where you require more granular control over who gains access to specific sensitive resources, and where you need a clear audit trail of who requested access and who authorized it through a defined approval process.
This sounds like a perfect solution for highly sensitive applications or data where you really want to ensure there's a clear and auditable process for granting access. For organizations operating under strict compliance regulations, this seems like an incredibly valuable feature to leverage.
It strikes a good balance, I think, between empowering users to request the access they need while maintaining essential control through clearly defined approval processes and governance.
Now is the perfect time to delve a little deeper into the official Microsoft Entra ID documentation and explore how these powerful features can be practically applied within your unique context.